Alright guys, well tonight's video we're going to change the scenery a little bit instead of being outside. We're going to come into my watch shop and I'm going to show you what an original 1964 Dodge Polara clock looks like. Now I didn't take any videos or pictures of this thing, so I'm going to have to give you an idea of what it looked like put together, because frankly I got too excited when I got the clock and I did not take pictures of it or make a video of it of when it was all together in one piece. I got carried away and I wanted to see if my $150 investment was going to be repairable. Now, what you all may not know about me is that I was a master automobile technician for 25 years. And in 2009, I changed careers and became a master watchmaker. So that's what I do for a living now. So being a watchmaker, it has allowed me the ability to repair and fix clocks. And watches are much harder to do than clocks, but nonetheless, they're all pose a challenge, every one of them. Now, what I've decided to do is, instead of sending this clock out to someone and pay them an average of say $350 to fix this clock, or I had the option of buying a quartz conversion, which suck because this thing is it ticks. It's a ticking clock. It's not a quartz one. It's going to go tick tick like a quartz clock. That's boring. I don't want that. I want the real deal, the original mechanical clock for Farah. So like I said to you, 150 bucks. I decided to take this thing apart, and what's inside I'm going to show you next. So I will put my glasses on so I can see, because I can't see. So this is what the clock face looks like. Well, where the face would be. And you notice it's got these three little tiny tabs you bend over. So there's no screws holding the dial onto the clock. And they fit in right here. So you get a gauge of what the face looks like, or the dial. It's going to go like that. And it's a pretty nice dial. It's like machined edges on it. You know, it kind of reflects a pretty nice glow. It's a pretty nice clean clock. There wasn't really any dirt in it, so the car it came out of was in pretty good shape. At least the clock was. But look, you can see it's made in the USA. Made by Borg, which I think makes instruments. Borg Warner? I'm not sure exactly, but so like any mechanical clock, what happens to these things is they seize up, because they run out of oil. The oil dries up, and this clock was no different. And like a pocket watch, it's pretty much similar in the same way. The train is designed in the same way, except there's no winding mechanism. So in an automatic watch, you've got a rotor that will turn and wind the mainspring, and you've got manual line watches, which you just hand wind every day. But this has a little bit different setup in it to keep it to run. It uses a coil and a magnet on this side. And I'm going to move this over here and show you the points, contact points. If you look right here, there's a set of contacts going to touch each other in about maybe 10 seconds. And at that moment, it will make a spark, and it will jump. That spark will actually jump the contact points. So now the clock is still running, and that little spring, I'll get my brass tweezers, you'll look right here, you'll see a little spring, and that's the power. So every 2 minutes and 15 seconds, this set of contacts will touch, and a little spark will jump them apart, and that's what's going to wind the watch. Every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So once I got all the pivots oiled, and I just use regular clock oil, you know, they say, from what I've read, that they will run about 2 years before they'll need servicing again. So that's why a lot of vintage clocks don't work. And as long as you can clean everything real good and oil everything properly, your clock will run again. And you just don't want to damage the hairspring, because it's very delicate. And the contact points, which are here, those sometimes will burn together and burn the coil up. So what happens a lot of times when the car battery goes dead, this set of contact points will stay on touch, because there's not enough voltage to jump for the coil to open up and wind it. so they burn together, and it usually burns the little coil up on this side, because what's inside there is a whole lot of windings. You can see the coil's just wound up with probably 100, 200 yards of this stuff, and that's what actually will do that. We'll jump it. Pretty nifty. So that's that. Now the hands for the clock are right here, and they're pretty nice. They're a little faded, but they look pretty good. And then what's really nifty about it is the sweep hand. It has a little star on it. And this clock is unique to a 1964 Dodge Polara. They don't use these in 65s or 3s, so if you want an original clock for your Dodge Polara, you got to find the exact one, and they're not easy to find, or how much it costs to invest into fixing the thing, which I've just did because I can. But instead of if you remember in the other earlier videos, the gauges had all these little buttons on it. Well, the fake, the knockout plate that there's no clock in there, you take that out. We're going to be installing this in the cluster, and we're going to make another video about that very shortly. But for right now, it's time for 8 Seconds with Gail.
Hey guys, you like what you see? You do? Fantastic. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button there, and you get to see a whole lot more.
I want to see a whole lot more too. So, did you hit that subscribe button? I hope you did, because if you did, then you'll get notifications when Gail and I post videos on our channel. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take this mechanism out in my garage, and I've got a 12-volt car battery out there, and we're going to set it up, and because this is timed in only one position, like this, like it's similar how a pocket watch is timed, we're only going to be timing it in the would be considered crown up position like a pocket watch, because the clock is never going to be turning at all, so it won't affect the adjustment. Now, what I did find interesting in the original shop repair manual was that you can actually adjust the speed of the escapement, which I thought was interesting, and you can, but it's a very minor adjustment, so I don't know how fast or slow the clock will run. But once I've got the everything set up out there, I'm going to show you guys, how it works. You get a chance to see how it works, and we're going to be running it for about 3 or 4 days and checking to see how accurate it is before I put it back on the dashboard, because if I have to make any adjustments prior to that, this clock is actually going to sit inside of a gauge cluster, so I won't be able to just remove it if there's a problem. So the goal is to make sure that everything is working properly, and it's going to keep reasonably accurate time. And then we're going to put it back together in its housing, because this is the housing it sits in. Some more numbers, and you can actually see Borg Industries. So from what I've researched, there's very few clock companies. West Clock was another one, actually. Borg West Clock made car clocks for everybody, which I didn't really know that, but it sits in this housing right here. It's even shaped like it, which is kind of neat. So it will be sitting inside there, and it's crimped together. This is no precision Rolex thing. This is not like a high-end clock. It's not that. It's a very cheap clock, and they only ran for a very short amount of time, and then nobody gave a shit. Well, we give a shit, so we're gonna freaking made it to run and see how it works. So I will see you in the garage. Alright, now I got Ferris' clock out here on the workbench. I'll show you how this works. It's very similar like a mechanical clock that you'd find in a regular clock, except what it does is it doesn't have a mainspring. So if you look, right in the center of the screen, you're going to see a set of contacts moving. Well, the one on the right is moving. So every 12 seconds, 15 seconds approximately, you're going to see that little spring, if you look on top, there's like a gray plate, and right above that there's a little spring. And that's what's powering the clock to run. So that spring only lasts about 15 seconds. So you'll notice the clock is ticking, it's winding down the spring, but it's got to wind somehow. And that's going to happen very shortly, because those contacts are going to touch, and that little coil is going to fly open and rewind the clock. And here it goes. Wait for it. Here it comes. You'll hear it jump. There it goes. Now that's how the clock winds. So you got to think that the life expectancy of a mechanical clock, whether it's a house clock, service life I'm talking, not just keep running it and running it and running it, but service life, you're looking at about 2 years. And that's it. It's a mechanical clock. You think people took these out and had them serviced at their clockmaker? Doubt it. Are they expensive to repair? Yes. I charge $300 just to even monkey with one of these, because they're fragile and they're not something you can just whip up and do real easily. You've got to go through every single part, clean it, oil everything properly. Now how about that, huh? Isn't that cool? So what we're going to do now is we're going to test run this thing. I don't know. Probably going to leave it on the bench a couple days. Make sure it runs. Can't really regulate it too far, fast or slow. When we get to that point, when we mount it back in the housing of the cluster, I'll show you how we're going to be able to adjust it. There's not a lot of adjustment on it, so it'll be interesting to see how accurate it is. It's going to jump again. Ready? Here it goes. There it goes, huh? Isn't that some cool crap right there, guys? So we've got the hands in here, which I've already shown you. So they're ready to go. Clock is serviced and running. We've got the dial right here, which I've showed you already, I believe, in an earlier video. That's going to go in there. Hot dog, huh? And there's a little jumper wire for power. So that's good. Cluster's ready to go. I oiled the mechanism up for the speedometer and the odometer. All the lights work. Look how crystal clear those lenses are now. I can't wait to put this baby back together. So next time you see it, we'll have the clock back in and off we go to the races. We're pretty much there. So I hope you've enjoyed the video so far, and if you have, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys later.